You are listening to Women's Running Stories, the podcast where exceptional women runners share inspirational stories about their running experiences. Welcome. My name is Cherie Turner. I am the host and producer of this podcast, and this is a special bonus episode of our live event, which happened at the Boston Marathon Expo on Sunday, April 14th, the day before the marathon. Once again, I teamed up to host an outstanding panel with my friends Julie and Lisa from the Run Farther and Faster podcast. This was our third year co-hosting together at the Boston Marathon, and it was terrific. This year's panel was titled Making a Statement, Breaking Barriers in Women's Running, and we got to highlight three incredible runners. We had Alisa Harvey, Briana Boehmer, and Kelly Bruno. But before we get into this live recording, I wanted to let you know that Women's Running Stories has a new supporter, and that is Lagoon Pillows. I am so excited to be working with Lagoon. They make truly exceptional pillows. Before you even order your pillow, you take a sleep quiz and you find out which of their models is best for you. I sleep on the Fox. And then you can further customize your pillow by adding or removing fill. And I will say I sleep great on my pillow. It has just enough cushioning, but it's also just firm enough to be super comfortable. My very first night sleeping on this pillow, it was after the Boston Marathon, and I was a bit jet-lagged, and I slept for a full 12 hours. And I have loved it every night since. And Lagoon is just a terrific company. Their number one goal is to help you get a quality night's sleep, which, as we all know, is essential for recovery from running and for your health in general. And all their pillows are made of quality materials, so you can be assured that your pillow will last a very long time. And for listeners of Women's Running Stories, you can use the discount code WRS15 for 15% off your first purchase. Just go to lagoonsleep.com, use the promo code WRS15, and get 15% off and enjoy a better night's sleep. Again, that's lagoonsleep.com. Use the discount code WRS15. All right, now let's get into this live recording. And since the marathon did happen the day after this panel, I'll give you the lowdown on how the marathon went for everybody. It turned out to be an unseasonably warm day, and that did take its toll on many of the athletes. And of course, marathons are always unpredictable. Bri Boehmer did not have the day that she had hoped for, but as she mentioned in a follow-up Instagram post, she did everything she could on the day, and she took 0 moments for granted. And that being on the starting line of the elite field of the Boston Marathon was a dream come true. No doubt. Bri also mentioned that she has aspirations for returning, and if there's one thing I know about Bri Boehmer, she is resilient and she's determined, and she just loves to run. And I look forward to seeing what comes next for Bri. Alisa Harvey had a great race, and at age 58, she ran a really strong 3 hours and 44 minutes. And Kelly Bruno knocked it out of the park. She took 25 minutes off the course record for her division, and this was a 12-minute PR for her personally in the marathon. She ran a 3:31, and this was despite dehydration and cramping toward the end of the race. And my co-host, Lisa Levin, ran her 21st Boston Marathon and finished a super strong 3:19. And for the record, Julie and I had a terrific time cheering on the runners together. All right, so let's get into it. This is our live recording from the Boston Marathon Expo.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here this afternoon. We have a great panel for you. Before we get started with them, though, of course, we want to thank the BAA for hosting us today. And in particular, we want to thank Suzanne Walmsley, Katie Hawks, and Adrian Benton. I do want to remind you all that we are recording, so we're going to have some Q&A, and just know that it will be recorded, and we are podcasters, so it will be playing on our podcasts. And I just want to say that you're in for a treat. We have these 3 incredible runners, and they've all broken barriers and represent excellence and longevity in their sport. But before we hear more from them, we're going to introduce us moderators here. I am Cherie Turner. I am the host and producer of Women's Running Stories. It is a podcast where excellent female runners share their inspirational stories about their running experiences. I'm also a runner. I have completed the 56-mile Comrades Marathon twice. I have 5 times done the Boston Marathon, and I did it for the first time in 2018, which was the storm year. And now I race shorter distances, 5Ks and shorter. So that's me. On to you.
Thanks, Cherie. I'm Lisa Levin. I am the co-founder of Run Farther and Faster. Thank you. Together, Julie and I co-founded Run Farther and Faster 15 years ago, and we coach runners of all levels and all abilities, not just nationally, but internationally. And over 15 years, we've probably coached over 1,000 runners, and many of them are here, and we really appreciate that. I have run, this will be my 21st Boston Marathon. I started when I was 5 years old. 21st Boston Marathon, and collectively, Julie and I have finished 32 Boston Marathons.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julie Sapper, and as Lisa mentioned, I'm a co-founder of Run Farther and Faster. We also started the Run Farther and Faster podcast in 2019 to prepare runners for the Boston Marathon. And we've had so many amazing guests on our podcast, and we're proud to say 2 of those guests are here today. And with that, I want to introduce our amazing women who are on this panel. First, I want to introduce Briana Boehmer. Bri is an elite runner turned long-distance athlete who returned to running and raced her first marathon at age 42, where in 2021, she ran the California International Marathon in a time of 2:33:20 and set in her first marathon the Masters course record. This, of course, launched her into the professional marathon world. Bri is on a mission to prove that age is not a barrier to setting goals. In addition to competing as an elite, Bri is also a corporate executive and entrepreneur. She is the COO of the company Goodie Bag, which provides marketplace solutions to food waste. This will be Bri's first Boston Marathon.
And I get to introduce Kelly Bruno. Kelly is a world record-setting sprinter, ultra-distance trail racer who has raced up to 100 miles, and she is also a marathoner. She's competing as part of the professional para-athlete division in this year's Boston Marathon. She was also a contestant on season 21 of the wildly famous show Survivor. And having undergone a below-the-knee amputation at a young age, she competes with a prosthetic. Kelly is a lifelong athlete, pushing the envelope of what's possible for para-athletes. And in addition to being an endurance athlete, Kelly is a physician specializing in pain management at Yale University, newly to Yale University. She just moved across the country. And this will also be Kelly's first Boston Marathon.
And Alisa Harvey is actually a hometown hero from where Julie and I are from the metropolitan DC area. She is an elite level competitor on the track and on the road who's qualified for the Olympic trials at the 800 meter, the 1500 meter, and the marathon distances. Among her long list of accomplishments over decades of racing, she has competed as a member of Team USA at several world championships and won gold at the 1991 Pan Am Games in the 1500. At 58, she does not look 58. At 58, she continues to compete as a top masters athlete, setting numerous age group records. Alisa is a 2019 National Black Distance Running Hall of Fame inductee and was featured in the documentary Breaking 3 Hours. This will be Alisa's second consecutive Boston Marathon.
All right, we're going to get on to some questions. So all of you women are exceptional runners and barrier breakers. Bree, you demonstrated that competitive running dreams can come true later in life than most people would imagine. And Kelly, you're demonstrating how fast and far athletes running with a prosthetic can go. And Alisa, you are demonstrating how Black women can be competitive at any distance they choose because you have done them all. And you're showing how women can continue to go after speed goals at any age. So we have questions that kind of speak to these topics. And I'm going to start with Kelly. We were curious what challenges you have faced while competing in the endurance space as a competitor and a para-athlete, and how have things changed over time for you?
That's a great question. So I started running when I was 14. I actually got into it from a background of just being an active kid. And I got into sprinting. And at that time, there was the 100 and 200 meters, and that's it. That was all we had. Those are the only options for a para-athlete at that time. So as a runner, you just kind of did what you could. So I ran the 100 and 200 meters for a number of years, and then did see the climate change a lot over the years. So the para-athlete world has become way more inclusive and also expanded a lot. And that's what kind of got me into these different areas. I started doing triathlon after sprinting for a number of years, and loved triathlon for a long time, but was really a runner at heart. So came back, started running ultra marathons, and then took some time off during COVID. As a physician, I was mentally and physically exhausted from being in that space. And so running was kind of put on the back burner for a little while, and then came back, and I've just been really excited to see the movement within the marathon distance. It's really expanded. The BA has been extremely supportive in trying to grow this program. I would say the biggest challenges that I've faced is access to equipment, and it's been a very pertinent topic on a number of panels that I've talked on this weekend, because access is so challenging for people with physical limitations.
Alisa, you've been running for many decades, and you've transitioned from the track to long distance and into masters running, and even we probably classify now as grandmasters. So talk to us a little bit about your journey and the particular challenges that you've faced along that journey, both from track to road and as a masters athlete.
Okay, so I guess I'll start with being in the longer stuff since I'm here at a marathon expo. I got into marathoning when I was a struggling elite middle distance runner, and I had just come from the state of New York, where I lived with my husband who I was divorcing, and I had a little baby girl, so I had to find a way to get money. So I found the roads. I had always had the ability to run farther than I trained, so I used that to find a way to make money. And in the DC area where I was living, every weekend there was some kind of a road race where you can make 500 there or 300 there. So what I would do is work all week long, and then on the weekends I would prepare to run literally a race on Saturday, make a few hundred, and run a race on Sunday. And that's how I maintained going back and forth to New York with my divorce proceedings and living and paying my roommates money. I lived with my brother. And by training and racing, I still managed to run on the track and compete at the elite level, and then make money with the roads. So that's how I transitioned year after year until I finally found a man I married who I loved. And so with that money, I was able to then settle back a little bit. But since I fell in love with the roads, and I had two places to go, so I would literally go from season to season, track and field, in the track season, indoor and outdoor. In fact, one of my favorite races was at the Reggie Lewis Center, where I was at 41, I think. I ran at the national championships and finished fast enough to make it to the Olympic trials. So anyway, that way I would go back and forth, and I kept my running and going and my distance running. And that led to me working at the running store and finding that I could do a marathon. I wanted to do a marathon because I'd run the Army 10-miler over and over again and won it 4 times. And I jumped in the Richmond Marathon on a whim. They said, "Don't do it, Alisa." And I did it anyway, and I ran 2:49 and qualified for the Olympic trials. So that's how I kind of kept got that going.
And along the way, what do you think is like your biggest challenge? What has been that challenge and that kind of that journey?
Well, gosh, where to begin?
Pick one. Pick one.
I think one of the toughest challenges is what other people perceive and the other ideas. My mother wanted me to stop running. I was too old. I had a kid. People would look at me like saying, "Why are you still running? Why don't you just settle down and get a better job?" But I loved competition, and I had some goals to set. So I would settle down and figure out what do you want, and then one thing would literally lead to the other. I've been lucky in that I've had the ability physically to do both, go short distances. I remember one time I ran the Cherry Blossom, and I ran like 55 minutes on one Sunday. And then that next weekend, I went to George Mason and ran a 2:04 in the 800. So I was able to make it work by resting. So I never trained super hard at either one. I let each race type work on the other end. Yeah.
That is great advice. Rest and recovery is key, for sure. So Bree, my question is for you, and that is, you've had a bit of an unusual trajectory. You were a triathlete for quite some time, and then you transitioned to become a marathoner. What challenges have you faced with that transition, particularly as a masters athlete?
Great question. First running was my background and my love, and so when I went into triathlon, that was like a challenge for me to try to learn how to be a multi-sport athlete. Learning how to swim when I didn't know how to swim, become proficient at the biking, and what I found was that actually made me a better runner. It's what you were just talking about, recovery and things like that. Being good at other disciplines and just challenging my body in a different way actually helped my running. So it was actually a smart thing for me to do that I didn't realize at the time. I'd been injured in college a lot. I ran in college, and I had a friend who was like, "Well, you're swimming and biking a lot. You should just do a triathlon." And I'm like, "All right, I'll do a triathlon," and got hooked. But when the pandemic hit, pools were closed. You couldn't go outside much, and I went back to what I love, which was running. And I found that I was actually fitter than I realized just from all the triathlon training I had done. So it actually wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, and I think that's part of the surprise that I got from running that time that I did was I had actually built so much strength from all this cross-training and other activities.
And what challenges in particular did you face, if any, as a masters athlete when you made that transition?
Running's hard on your body, as you know. Also, there is a preconceived notion that as you're older, when I was actually I wanted to run a marathon, and I wanted to try to run something somewhat decent, and I'd go to these races, and they're like, "You're old." I mean, literally, like I'm just not a young athlete, and I didn't have any times to show for myself. So it was very difficult for me to get into a field to just even try to run a good time. So I decided to go do the CIM marathon, and I kept asking, and finally they let me in kind of like last minute to run in the elite field. And I still remember going up to the start line, and they had like a little gate, and I had like a makeshift bib that they had given me, and I was like, "I'm supposed to be in that field." And they're like, "No, you're not. That's not the right bib." I'm like, No, I promise. Like, I'm allowed to be here, And I think it's just a challenge to like believe that, I walked in there and thinking like, gosh, I really don't belong here. It's like, I'm too old. Like, what am I doing with this elite field? I didn't even know how to put together my bottles because I'd never done that before. But it was actually such a gift at the end of the day because nobody knew who I was and I could just run. But it really was a challenge to try to get myself back into the game when, number one, I'd been out of running for a while, but also I'm an older athlete, so it's not as easy for you to be able to just say, "Hi, like I have potential, let me try." For example, Jenny Simpson is running the marathon in Boston. She's got all these times behind her. She's a little younger. Probably easier for her to get into those things than someone like myself with no background. So,
well, congratulations as an older athlete for getting in the pro field.
So I have a question for all three of you, and you can take turns, and whoever wants to answer first. But whether or not you recognize it, you're all role models for somebody out there, for us, for many runners. Do you see yourself as a role model? What attributes do you hope people see in you as a role model? And do you have a particular role model? Feel free to.
Well, I grew up watching Alisa. She's a role model to me. I mean, truly, as I was growing up, But yeah, and to see her running marathons, continually breaking barriers, running short distance to long distance, things like that are just so inspiring. And I think the basis of it is that we have preconceived notions of what you can or can't do. So if you're an 800 runner, why would you run a marathon? If you're 42 at the time, like why you can't run fast marathons anymore, whatever it is, we put these barriers on ourselves. And I like that I surprise myself that I can be someone who says, actually, it's not too late. At some point, I'll slow down, but right now I'm not going to put that barrier, and I hope that I can do that. And then I see lots of people doing the same thing, which is what we need more of. So,
For me, my role model growing up as a child in the 70s was Wilma Rudolph. She was an African-American sprinter, 100-meter, 200-meter gold medalist who had polio as a baby, as a child. And she was born in poverty, and she managed to go through that and get healthy and then make the Olympic team. And I was a little girl watching TV back in 1970s, 6 or 7, and I saw that movie and like, wow, because I didn't have a lot of opportunities like you do now. And so I wanted to be a sprinter, and that was my role model.
That's awesome. Growing up, I didn't have a lot of role models, only because it was an era before the internet. I know, a shocking time. So you just didn't really know other amputees. And so it was something that it was 14 years really before I met anyone that ran. I didn't know that I could run. I played sports, I was active, but I didn't know I could run until I was 14 and met other people that ran with prosthetic blades. And so it took a long time for me to learn about that. And then once I got into it, I did have a number of people I looked up to for many, many years. At this point, I just hope when people see us out there running, they realize that, nothing should hold you back. A physical limitation, whatever it is, I think we all come at the sport with something. Yours might not be as obvious as mine, but it may be mental, it may be emotional, it may be, an injury. Whatever it is, I think just knowing that you can do it and believing in yourself. And I hope people see that, when we're out there, maybe they have a little more belief in themselves.
Wait, and my role model actually was that at the same time I was watching Wilma, I should have been looking at Marilyn Bevins, who was up the road about 80 miles away, and if I had seen her, I probably would have bypassed the sprinting and just gone right to the distance running. So yeah.
We didn't have the social media that we have now.
So my question is for all three of you as well. We'll start with Alisa, and that is, what motivates you to continue setting goals, and specifically what motivates you to train year after year, day after day, hour after hour?
I think for me at this point, it is truly, I am scientifically curious as to how long and how well I can continue to do this. I think that I've done whatever I've done the right way, and it seems to be working. So I'm literally that kind of scientist out there saying, okay, you're 58, what's next? So it's curiosity and a love of running.
For me, I actually, when I was younger, I saw a lot of potential in what I could do with running. I ran in college and I ran with people who went to the Olympics, and I felt like that was something I could do, but I had a lot of people telling me I couldn't, and I believed that I couldn't. And so seeing myself do the things that I dreamed of 20 years ago now motivates me to keep thinking about all the things that I was told I couldn't do that maybe I can. And so I'm really motivated to see what else I can do that I thought I couldn't. And so, I'm not old yet. I can still do a lot. And that's not just in running, that's in business. Things when people told me that I couldn't do, I now kind of want to see, actually, let's see if I can. So it's a motivator for me.
I think similar. I think just knowing kind of that self-motivation and knowing that what I've done, and then kind of figuring out what I can do. I use a lot of social media, and I see what other people have done, and it kind of inspires me to realize that I can do it too. And it really puts ideas in my head about like what challenge to go after next. I'm not, a straight marathoner, like many of the other athletes here. I will go off, depart from that road and go do like ultra marathons, or like I climb Mount I love climbing mountains, and so I will, I'll do something like that, and that to me is just as inspiring and an accomplishment, I guess, as some of these like timed races.
All right, so one more question for all three of you is, what made you decide to run Boston this year, and what's going to be motivating you tomorrow when you toe the line? So, and I'll let anybody start.
Well, for me, the lure of Boston is that I've been to a lot of races throughout my long career, and I had I was graced with the ability to follow Marilyn Bevins to the Boston Marathon 3 years ago and watch her start the wheelchair races. And they treated her as a VIP because she was, second in 1975. So I was just like kind of her chaperone, if you will. And the whole ambiance and the whole history of this event said, wait a minute, I want to do this. So that's why I did it last year, and I'm going to come back this year because it's an amazing event.
I mean, I think all people, there's something about Boston and the course that it's not easy. You have to actually think about how you're going to race it. And then it's gorgeous. I went and kind of toured the course earlier this year. It's beautiful. I've heard there's people cheering every mile. Like, I just can't wait for all of those things. It's kind of like it's a big city marathon, but not. And so all of that, I cannot wait. And I've just always wanted to run this course. I love that it's hilly and it's not easy and the weather could be crazy. So it's Boston.
Yeah, I'm excited to run my first Boston. I think, so I don't know if anyone's seen the program, but there is another athlete, it's kind of in the para-elite field. So it's a small field. There are only 3 in my classification, and I'm right now the challenger in my category. So I'm just excited to see what happens out there, to do my best and put everything out there. I'll save a little. I'm running London next week, so I got to save a little bit, just a little bit, for next week, just so that I can make it to that finish line too.
Wow, that is definitely ambitious. Alisa, did you learn anything last year on the course that you're taking this year that you're now incorporating into your plan for this year?
Yes, I made the mistake of going too fast on the downhill. I was feeling really good, and I found this guy that was going this great pace, and I just sat with him for like 10, 15 miles until I couldn't.
It's a good lesson for anyone who has not heard this advice before and is running for the first time. Don't go out too fast.
Well, I think we can open it up to some questions in the audience. Yeah?
Yep, if you have a question, there will be a microphone coming around. Please speak into the microphone because we are recording for the podcast. So anybody have a question? Don't be shy.
Oh, we have one woman up here.
Right here, here we go.
Hi, everyone. I don't want to be the voice of anything negative because you're all so inspiring, but I'm asking from the perspective of someone who ran Boston 14 times, and now I can't run, my knees hurt. So I'm just wondering, when you can no longer be elite, do you envision yourselves being mid-pack, or say, I'm done, I'm gonna watch or coach? Like, how will you deal with that lack of ability to be elite?
Well, I'm no longer really elite, so that's kind of me now. I'm running it around, I'm running it like my goal is to run 350 maybe, around that pace, which I guess is still decent for my age. I keep forgetting, okay? But I also coach, and I've coached for years actually, and I've coached the kids. I coached high school, coached college, did that for a while. And I think I'm ready to go transition into just being a runner. That won't be a hard thing for me because it's about pretty soon, that's where I'm going to be, yeah.
For me, I'm savoring the opportunity I have right now. And then, once I'm not able to run as fast as I want, I still, what Alisa said, I will want to set new time goals for myself at that age. And that, for me is still very motivating. It's not being in the elite field or anything like that, but just what can I do at the age of 50, 55, 60, and so on, whether it's running or other activities, because I just love seeing what is possible. So I love that idea of what can I do at this point.
I feel like it's a little bit different for me. My field is so small that I will always be in that field. But I do think that, at some point it will be harder and harder to run. We definitely, as an amputee, I think I face a number of additional issues that other runners don't, like just imbalance in my hips and my back, and the wear and tear on my residual limb. So I respect that, and like Bree, I will savor the time that I have, and then probably look for other challenges that may, put a little bit different stress on my body.
I have a bit of a follow-up question to that, because I think I really like that question. And I'm wondering if there's anything kind of outside of actual running that you're doing in the running space as a way to participate. Like Alisa, you just said you coach, and I'm just wondering if there's anything outside of running that you guys also do in the running space?
Well, I work at a running store, and I keep telling my owners I'm going to stop working there because I'm getting old, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. And so I might be the 70-year-old, 75-year-old working at the running store. I'm also writing a book, and that's taken a lot of time, but that's going to be what I'm going to do also. And then I have kids. I have a son and a daughter, and I'm still with them and kind of working on what they're doing kind of thing too, so.
Yeah, I coach. I'm also part of an organization company called Wazelle, and they have a ton of really impactful programs. And one of the things I'll be doing this next year is being a flight guide, which is just basically in my community hosting runs and trying to engage with the running community in a different way. I think I'll always be doing things like that because I love it. I've coached high school track before. I might do that again. But yeah, I love being around and mentoring and helping, so.
And I'm part of Achilles International, which is a group that, really supports athletes with physical and mental disabilities. And so that's kind of how I stay involved outside of my own personal running.
That's a great reminder, too, that we should all be more than runners, because maybe one day we won't be able to do this. So find some joy in your life from other things and make sure that it's not all centered around running. This is great, and we love this, but we have a lot of other things in our lives. So it's a great reminder, and it was a great question. Does anybody else have any questions? Got another one, yeah? You can bring Mike over.
First of all, thanks for being here. You're all an amazing inspiration to us. As we all age, right now I'm 69 and I'm not running my fastest times, but in Minnesota, I run a lot in Minnesota, and a lot of the races have age grading on there, and so that's how I set my goals every year. Is I look ahead to what the age grading tables say for the distances that I run, and so then I use that as a guide for the goals for the races I'm going to do. So I decide what goal. I have a certain percentage I want to reach. Does everybody know about that? Okay, thank you.
I think that's a great way to set goals, by the way. There's all sorts of different ways you can kind of measure and see if you're improving, and I love that, the age graded. So age group awards, I know I'm going to want to try to do that someday, and yeah, why not?
We love seeing, too, that the age-graded tables are getting faster and faster. So every time they release them, you can see, especially with the women, you can see how much faster women as a group are getting. So that's pretty neat to see, too. But it is a great way to compare.
We have a question over here.
Thanks. It's actually somewhat related to what you just said. In terms of women getting faster, I was curious on what strengths you think women have as runners that are sometimes overlooked by society that you could share that could help inspire all of us, but also inspire others that aren't runners at the moment to try and run and to do what we're all doing.
So I think what you mean by what type of things women in particular add to it. Well, I know after my pregnancies, I had a bit of a boost in my running. And even though I gained 50 pounds with each pregnancy, I was able to lose it gradually and get right there on the starting line in the elite, about 3 months later on the elite starting line in the mile. So I think with women I see is that they have this ability during the high hormones of pregnancy to really perform well afterward, to get back into shape again. So I think that for women is particularly special.
I mean, for me, I don't have children, but I do think as much as I can relate to all the things that women go through, I mean, we all know that we have different things that men don't have to deal with. But, I personally have also dealt with a lot in my life and career of business. constantly not being heard and listened to and kind of being pushed aside. It's just been a very normal thing for me, and it has created a lot of resilience in my running. So like I gain a lot of confidence actually from the moments I've had where I haven't been heard or been kind of shoved aside. And I think a lot of women can actually relate to that. And I try not to always say like, oh, it's because I'm a woman, but the truth is like a lot of times it was because I was a woman. But I am so much stronger for it. So I'm glad that I've been through those things. So that for me, I take my business experiences and take that into running a lot.
To follow that, I'm a physician, and my training is in anesthesia, and then I have a subspecialty in pain management, which is a highly male-dominated field in medicine. I went to a program that had 10 male physicians when I started as a fellow, and was the first female hired on in that program in 10 years. So that kind of same idea, there were a lot of times within that program that I did feel like I struggled to be heard, and really had to I felt like I had to work a little bit harder than my male colleague at the time to be seen. And so I do feel like that has translated into some of my running as well, that resilience. I think women are exceptionally strong and resilient, and we work hard, we're passionate.
Another question right there.
There's so many different diets and fads and things as far as food goes. So my question is, what will you have for your pre-race meal in the morning, and what kind of diets do you guys maintain?
The diet. Oh boy. So yes, and I've done it all and made all mistakes. So for me, tomorrow I have a lot of food allergies, no dairy and lots of other things. So I will probably just do a bagel. Hopefully I can get some oatmeal too, maybe, and that's going to be it. And because then I'll snack a little bit, leading it, going up to the race. And snack is not going to be much, maybe a saltine or two, only because I have a tendency to get a nervous stomach. But I've got to keep it really bland, and of course, not many protein sources. So that's about it. Gels, the pretzel, the bagel, maybe some oatmeal.
I'm definitely maybe an anomaly, but I eat everything and anything. I love chocolate. I usually have chocolate before I race, almost always. But my pre-race meal it's very strange, but I love pumpkin bread, peanut butter, and banana, and then some chocolate, some coffee. Tonight I'll have some carbs, but also some little bit of veggies so that I can make sure tomorrow I get everything out. But yeah, I don't have anything. I just like to eat food. And I don't follow anything crazy.
This one was hard. Preparing for this race was kind of hard because of the timing. I'm used to, a 7 a.m., 6:30 a.m. start. So I did practice actually for this race, trying to eat earlier and kind of prepare for like a 9:50. My wave goes off at 9:50, so a 9:50 start. So I've been planning it. I tried a couple different things. Oatmeal was the thing that really won out. So I'll do oatmeal first thing, and then a banana and a honey stinger later in the morning, just to kind of settle my stomach before the race, since there's such a long time between breakfast and race start.
I actually have a question, because two of you have mentioned nervous stomach. How do you handle your nerves? Are you nervous, and how do you handle your nerves in the morning?
Unfortunately, yes. I'm still nervous after all these years. I just think it's my body's way to get ready to go. So I don't do music. I just use my own thoughts. It's probably why I'm still running so long. I can find my own way to entertain myself. So I just literally sit back, maybe kind of doze a little bit, close my eyes, and sip my fluids, and think about other races. Think about the race and how I'm going to go through it. And get to the race site and go.
Yeah, I'm similar. I started doing breath work a couple of years ago, and that's been an incredible thing for me. So I'll probably do a little bit of breath work in the morning just to kind of calm my nerves and ground myself, and then just focus on the race.
I would say, at least for Boston, I'm actually just really excited to race. And so at the late start that I've been here several days, I'm just like, oh, I just want to race. But when I'm really nervous, I have to do things like breath work and calming myself down. But this one, I'm more just super excited for the gun to go off. So I'm more anxious and just want it to start. But yeah.
So I have a question. So many people are racing. Who's racing tomorrow? Amazing. Congratulations to all of you for being here. So inevitably, anyone who races a marathon has down moments where they're feeling a little bit sad or for whatever reason. When you hit those moments in marathons, what do you do to bring yourself out of that?
I have this thing I tell myself a lot, which is that I don't have to be a hero, which sounds really strange, but it means to me just like you don't have to do anything special, Briana, just keep moving. Because I think sometimes I put a lot of pressure on myself to try to perform a certain way, and so I actually try to remind myself that it doesn't have to be that way. I also definitely start just thinking about people that mean a lot to me, which maybe seems cheesy, but it really does help get me through. So I think about the people who love me, that are cheering for me, and that I want to keep moving forward for them. So, because inevitably there will be tough patches. I've only had a few races ever where the whole thing just flew by, so.
I think that's, on that kind of periphery, the getting down part is that I look for the positives. For me, I think it's just that, okay, it's just this time, it's this race, but there's so much better. Look how healthy you are. I think about the positives. I'm out here, and I'm one foot in front of the other, I'm breathing, I'm enjoying it, and people are saying, hey, and look at the cheer and the crowd and the music. So I have fun, even so I just pep myself up by the atmosphere.
Yeah, I really like that. I think mostly the atmosphere, and just I'm out there to enjoy it. I guess maybe because I'm not in this elite field as much. I really, running to me is supposed to be fun. Our purse is much smaller, so we don't, it's not a job. I don't think I would want it to be a job. I enjoy just the excitement of the race. So in those down moments, I just think about the fact that, I'm here to enjoy myself, so why be down? And try to look at the positives.
Any other questions? We probably have time for another one or two questions. If anyone? We got a question right over here. Thanks.
For the Boston course, particularly this course, it's always considered one of the hardest for the world majors. What are y'all strategies for tackling a course like Boston where you have up and down, up and down?
So for me, my strategies, I've got to think that I am well undertrained for most people that run marathons, because I always am, because I'm really a sprinter and I shouldn't be here. So I've got to think about holding back and being the smartest I can with hydration. I had a heat stroke years ago that took me to the hospital, so I've got to watch the heat, and I look at my watch, so I've got to go splits that are smart, and then I can move. I've done a lot of hill training, so I'll be fine, but I've really got to dial it back until last maybe 7 miles, 5 miles, and then I'm safe. So to me, it's a game of being smart and withholding the energy and then going, because I only have so much mileage in my belt.
Yeah, my plan is to take the same approach. It's my first Boston, so I'm hoping I don't go out too fast. My plan is to kind of play it conservative for the first 10 to 15, and then see kind of what I have left once I hit the Newton-Wellesley Hills. And then hopefully that last 4, I can, dig deep and just leave it all out there, except for that little bit that I need to save for London.
I think that's amazing you're doing that. Yeah, definitely. I live in Colorado. I love the hills, and so I really am excited to be able to go tackle them. So I'm going to be smart in the first 10 to 15 so that when I get to Newton, I can really hopefully hit those hard. But yeah, I think it's also just being really smart with your early miles no matter what the marathon is, because if you go out too hard at the start, the last few miles can be terrible. So no matter hilly or not, you have to be very smart about that.
Great advice. One in the front row. Oh.
Hi, thanks for being here. Just wondering, what does your post-race recovery look like, and has that changed since you were younger? And I also have to ask, what's your favorite thing to eat after the race?
Kelly's post-race recovery is running another marathon.
Right. I like to go to the pool. So I'm hoping to go back to my hotel and hit the pool, just stand there. The cold water in and of itself, and maybe that current is going to really take my body temperature down, and then I can then eat and then feel better. Yeah.
I actually have a rule that the next day I make sure I do something, and that really helps my recovery, whether it's like a quick bike ride or something like that. And then favorite thing to eat after, the same as before, chocolate. So I'm pretty boring.
This year I am planning on doing an ice bath after. A friend of mine set one up in his room, so I'm excited to do that. And then I almost always want to bike or do something light the day after, really just to keep my legs moving. Favorite food after? My entire training cycle was fueled by ice cream, so I imagine that that's gonna play a big role. There's been a lot of ice cream consumed. Luckily, I don't have a dairy allergy.
Oh, and food. Okay, my favorite food's going to be a burger. I like burgers.
Did we have another question out there? Thought we saw a hand. No? All right. I think that's going to wrap it up for us, you guys. Thank you so much for coming out. We really, really appreciate it. And thank you to you three. And good luck tomorrow. We will be cheering for you.
Good luck to all of you, and thank you so much to the three of you. You're all such amazing women. It was such an honor to talk with you today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Women's running. Women's running stories.
There is no hood like parenthood. When you meet a fellow parent, you just kind of get each other on a whole nother level. Hi, I'm Kanika Chadda Gupta. I'm a former CNN journalist, mom of 3, including twins, and host of That's Total Mom Sense, the podcast. I interview changemakers on their life lessons, legacy, and superpower of intuition, aka their mom sense and dad sense. I've had some pretty amazing parents on my show.
Hey, what's up? I'm Kelly Rowland. Hi, this is Chelsea Clinton. It's me, Bobby Brown. Can't wait to share my story.
Episodes release every Thursday. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Join my tribe at thatstotalmomsense.com and follow me on Instagram at Kanika Chadda Gupta. I'm thrilled to be on this journey with you.